This episode is about the cost of talking too much, and we're all guilty of it. Well, maybe not everybody, but I know that I have been for a long time, and it took me a discipline of a lifestyle actually to get much better at this. And it was birthed recent, or this episode was born out of a message that I got late last night. And I thought, you know what? I have to talk about this. This is happening to too many people, and we aren't taking it as seriously as we could. So I have someone in my life who has multiple times left these long messages and said, I can't leave a short message, like she's not capable of it. I've already talked to her about it once, about the power of brevity and how she may be tuning other people out, or people aren't continuing to even listen, which is essentially the same thing. And I was thinking too, as I often call myself a recovering rambler, because I love lots of detail. I love adding extra parts to the story. I have a lot of passion about things. And I have learned that that is not often serving me, particularly in business, but it's also in relationships in general. So that is why this episode is being brought to you today. And I've got 6 tips for you around this cost of talking too much. And again, more importantly, what can you do about it? The first one is the more you say, the less people remember. The more you say, the less people remember. I will never forget a CEO that I was coaching a number of years ago who talked so much, and he was getting coaching from me at the time because he wanted to pitch his startup to what do you call it? News people. And I said, okay, I have to tell you, you have been talking so much. You haven't let me get a word in edgewise, and I don't understand your point. So thankfully, I was able to give him that candid feedback because he was asking, and he was asking me to coach him. But most of the time, people are not going to give you that feedback unless they care about you, or there's something related to, let's say they report to you, or they work with you somehow and you have that relationship. But I don't think enough people, particularly women, see how this is actually costing them in their day-to-day lives, where people don't really understand what they're talking about. So this happens all the time. I had another situation just today. Somebody called and in advance had said that they wanted to talk to me about something. And honestly, beforehand, I wasn't sure if they were interested in coaching with me or if they just wanted my perspective on something. I really wasn't clear based on the message, but I know them well through another group I'm in. So I said, sure, let's have a call. So on the call, she just started talking, and I stopped her and I said, hold on a moment. I want to make sure that I help you. And I would love to know what you need from me in this conversation. And then she started talking again. And then I said, I want to, again, I'm going to stop you and ask you to tell me, what do you need? And I said, is it my perspective? Because sometimes you need, as much as I often coach against giving people a drop down menu because it's easier, or it's usually better to ask one question and let them respond. But in this case, because she didn't answer it the first time, I felt like I needed to give her some examples so she could go, oh, yes, I want your perspective. And, or sometimes you could give people options. Are you looking for my perspective, or are you looking for coaching with me? Or, and that was in my case. Now, depending upon who you are, it might simply be, are you looking for my opinion, my perspective, or are you looking just for me to listen? But most people are not intentional about how they communicate up front. So the cost to this, more you say, less people remember, is that your best point gets buried. And when the voicemail is 7 minutes, the story takes detours, or the presentation has 42 extra slides, people are going to stop listening. Brevity increases impact. So here's the power move for you. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I want them to remember? Or what's the intention of this conversation? Number 2, talking too much can signal insecurity, not authority. Oh my goodness. This is one that is counterintuitive because we don't realize oftentimes that we're doing it. So again, a lot of these things are blind spots, which is why you're here and hopefully taking away something from this. The cost of that is that you unintentionally dilute your confidence. That's the cost. That's a huge cost. Over-explaining often comes from wanting to prove ourselves. I've definitely done this. I remember years ago when I was in a leadership group and I would often share these long emails. And finally, one of the people in the group actually said with love, he said, I have to tell you, Karen, I get your emails and I think, oh, I don't have time to read this. And that whole TDLR, what is it? Too long, didn't read. TLDR, too long, didn't read, is very common. A lot of times we have to remember, is this going to pass the scroll test on a person's phone? Because most people are reading emails on their phones. So remembering to make sure that you are brief and get to that point quickly, like we talked about. And you've probably heard me in other episodes talk about BLUF, bottom line up front, from the US military, making sure that you don't bury the lead, as they call it in journalism. Powerful communicators trust that less can be enough. So be careful about that over explaining. And I would invite you to think about, what is the root cause for you? Are you trying to prove yourself? Are you trying to justify what you're trying to get across? Or are you avoiding being misunderstood? Is that something you're trying to do? So going back to the emails that I used to write, I was doing a lot of personal growth work on myself. And the facilitator, who is brilliant, Dr. John Townsend, he said something that absolutely blew my mind. He said, Karen, the way I look at this, he goes, I'm tracking with you, but yeah, it's a lot. He said, I see this as a little girl just trying to give everything possible to her dad to hope that he will give her attention, that he will accept her, that he will love her. And that was very powerful. I know this is not a therapy podcast, but I do think that getting to the root of why can be really, really insightful. Number 3, you train people to tune out. If you're somebody that talks a lot, people will get your voice message or your voice memo, or they see a meeting on their calendar with them, or you see a meeting on your calendar with them, and suddenly you go, oh, that's going to take too long. So remember, the executive who keeps adding material or the speaker who can't land the plane loses the room, even with good content. That's the challenging part. This is where I'm always grieved when a person's brilliance is not matched by how they're coming across in their communication. And I want to put an end to that. Make sure that everybody is displaying their brilliance through their communication. And people mentally check out when they don't know where the finish line is. Like, where is this going? I will also remember, I also remember vividly another CEO who was talking to me. He set up a meeting with me, and I had been coaching his CFO. I didn't know why he wanted to meet with me. I had never met him. I always went through the HR person. And I said in the beginning, how can I be most helpful today? And then he just started launching in talking about this person. I said, again, excuse me, let me interrupt you if you don't mind. I would love to understand what you'd like to get from this conversation. And then he kept talking again. I tried again. Okay, let me interject here. What was the purpose or objective of you bringing this conversation or setting up this conversation? And I tell you, he couldn't do it. He just kept talking. I finally had to just read between the lines and figure it out. There's only so many times you're going to say something, especially if it's a CEO or somebody that is your client, that especially a corporate client, if there's multiple decision makers in the house. So you've got to always be discerning and use good judgment that you have. Okay. I want to take a quick pause here and say that I am doing a group program, which I haven't done in years, called the Powerhouse. Well, if you've been listening to me for a while, you may say, what? But you've done that before. But I am changing the format to be a 90-day program where you learn how to command any room you walk into without doubt, apology, or second guessing. You'll learn all the tips and tricks and tools with a small group of people. So this is for only 8 women, and we only have a few spots left now. So it is for executives as well as entrepreneurs and business owners who are in that C-suite level, executive level position. And it's all about making sure that, especially in high stakes situations, that you are leading the charge, you are commanding attention the way you want to. And if you're interested in that, please shoot me an email, Karen@KarenLaos.com, or you can send it to my assistant, hello@KarenLaos.com. It's also on my website. under Karen Laos, and you'll see Work With Me, the Powerhouse. Notice how that rhymes. Karen Laos, Powerhouse. All right. Number 4, long-winded communication slows decisions. The cost is momentum and trust. Listen to that one, trust. Because meetings that never end don't just waste time. They're confusing. They create indecision and frustration. And let's remember, clear communicators move business forward. And if you were listening to my other episode, The Cost of Indecision, remember what Napoleon Hill said, successful and based on research. Hold on, I'm going too fast. Napoleon Hill said, successful people make decisions quickly and rarely change them, if ever. So the power move for the cost is that, excuse me, I'm fumbling here. The power move, before speaking, ask, am I adding clarity or complexity? Am I adding clarity or complexity? Number 5, talking too much can make conversations feel one-sided. So the cost is connection. Whether you're networking, you're leading, speaking, people want to feel included. I see this all the time with people that are facilitating or primarily speaking. And in my world as a speaker, a lot of times the decision maker will say, okay, you're going to present for 45 minutes and then Q&A. And I'll say, no, I'm going to present and take Q&A the entire time. So it's going to be inclusive. So that's, even when you're speaking, you can still engage the audience. But when it's a conversation, truly like a one-on-one or a small group meeting, make sure that you're asking questions and you're including people, because if you're always filling space with talking, you miss the actual gold, listening. Let me say that again. If you're always filling space, you miss the gold, which is listening, because when you listen, you gain understanding, and that gives you more information, and information is power. So that can help you understand and figure out how to best work with or appeal to that person, so that you can ultimately, at the end of the day, influence and get what you want too, since you'll know them better. So the power move for this is to aim for dialogue, not monologue. Number 6, you rob your message of power when you don't pause, if you're constantly talking. And we've talked a lot about that here, but the cost of this is presence, and that includes trust as well as credibility. So silence feels uncomfortable. Why? Well, excuse me, let me go back for a minute. So if you think about communicators that are confident, they understand that silence creates authority. A pause gives people time to absorb, time to react, time to lean in, time to create intrigue. What's coming next? A pause is so powerful for multiple reasons. So your power move on this one is to replace extra words with intentional pauses. So let me repeat all of these here. Number 1, the more you say, the less people remember. So your point gets buried, and the power move is to ask yourself, what's the one thing I want them to remember, leave with, or what do I want to start with? Number 2, talking too much can signal insecurity, not authority. The cost is that you unintentionally dilute your confidence. So power move, say it once, pause, let your words land. Number 3, you train people to tune out. The cost is attention fatigue. People mentally check out. So your power move is to end before people want you to. This is also brilliant in elevator pitches. Too often we give way too much information in our elevator pitch or our introduction. So slow down and stop. Well, not slow down necessarily. That could be true, but to make sure that you don't say as much. Okay. Long-winded communication slows decisions. So the cost is momentum and trust. The power move is to ask before you speak, am I adding clarity or complexity? Number 5, talking too much can make conversations feel one-sided, and the cost of that is connection, which is huge. Aim for dialogue, not monologue. That's your power move. And lastly, 6, you rob your message of power when you don't pause. The cost is presence. So your power move is to replace extra words with intentional pauses. So at the end of the day, why do we still do this? Number 1, it's habit. It's something that we have become accustomed to, and it's hard to change. The other thing is silence feels uncomfortable. We also tend to think that more words equal value. We fear being misunderstood. We fear being judged or not enough. And that was my problem in the past where I said so much. But here's the irony. The most powerful communicators aren't the ones who say the most. They're the ones who say what matters most. And that's it for today, folks. Let me know what you think. Share a review, send me an email. I would love to hear how this podcast has helped you, because if we can help you, we can help others. And by the way, you may remember that I'm on a mission to reach 10 million women in the next 10 years. And that started in 2020, and we're about halfway there. 2030 is the goal. And it's all happening at the Chase Center in San Francisco with an incredible one-day event with 18,000 people. And you can be one of them. So looking forward to next time we connect. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps other people find the podcast faster, and it certainly helps me. Remember, you too can stand out with unshakable confidence.